Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Kanika Henry, and I'm a Crisis Intervention Specialist with the City of Chandler Fire Department's Crisis Response Unit. And we are here today to discuss drowning prevention awareness throughout the community of Chandler. Joining me today is Battalion Chief Kevin Gale with the department, as well as Fire Engineer Dan Kiefner, and finally Mr. John Fritz. John is here with us today due to a very tragic incident. John lost his 1-year-old son, Eric Fritz, to a drowning in June of 1994 here in the city of Chandler. John has so graciously decided to share his story with the public in hopes of bringing awareness to this valley-wide epidemic and to illustrate the devastating impact a child drowning can have on a family. I also want to add that Chief Gale and Fire Engineer Dan Kiefner were actually on shift that day and responded to Eric's call. And we'll be hearing from them a little bit later on in the segment and what that experience was like for them. But first, John, thank you very much for your willingness to share your story with the public.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So, John, if we can just start off, just you telling us how the day started, what happened. I know that Eric was at the babysitter's house. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Correct. It was just another normal day in our family. It was in the summertime in June, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, I received a phone call from the City of Chandler, a fire personnel, stating that my son had been in a accident. At the time, he didn't elaborate, but he recommended that I get to the hospital as quickly as I could. I was in shock, of course. It's a phone call you never expect to receive, but I could tell by the tone of his voice that it was something very, very serious. So I initially, on the way to the hospital, I went by the place where Eric was at the babysitter. He had already been transported via helicopter, but one of the fire trucks were still there and just leaving. I just quickly asked him, just to make sure what hospital he was transported to, where he was, and I could tell by the look on all the people's fire department's faces that there was something wrong. I proceeded to the hospital and found my wife there and my son on life support. They told me that he had fallen into a pool and that it was very severe. We spoke with the doctors for a while, and the doctor told us that we'd have to make a decision on whether to keep him on life support or take him off life support. Fortunately, he passed away on his own that evening, and our lives were forever changed at that moment.
Okay. And John, just to kind of paint a picture for the public in regards to how you said you stopped by the house prior to going to the hospital. Did you get a chance to see the area that Eric had fell into? Did you see where he was at? Did you get a chance to see?
No, I never returned into the house at that point because I was trying to get to the hospital as quickly as possible. But my wife's mother had been watching our two children. My older child was 4 years old at the time, and Eric was 1. And this was just a temporary situation for a few weeks as my wife's mother's house was being remodeled. We did extensive research on finding an appropriate person. One of the things that we did evaluate was if they had a swimming pool or not. They did not have a full-size swimming pool, so it was one of the considerations that we did in finding somebody to watch our children at the time.
Okay. Chief Gale and Engineer Dan, you guys were there on shift that day.
Yeah.
Can you guys be able to recall, really what that was like for you, and just really the overall impact that this can have when responding to a call of this nature?
Yeah, one thing that I would like to add, in relation to the pool, because I think that's something very important for everybody to be aware of, is you know, because like he mentioned, there wasn't a site-built pool at this home. This incident took place in a very small pool that you would purchase at a variety store, with probably 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and probably would not holds less than a foot of water if it was full. In this instance, this pool actually had a very small amount of water. I would estimate maybe, if I recall correctly, probably no more than 1 inch of water in this pool. So really not what you picture when we you know, do a lot of our drowning awareness and ad campaigns, as you know, where we focus on those large pools and fencing and the barriers and everything. But I think it's very important and a key component of for everybody to be aware of is actually how little or small amount of water it actually takes to have a tragic event like this occur. And like in this instance, where it's simply a very small pool that you would purchase at a store and bring home, but it could still end in a very tragic event.
You know, I don't think that people realize that water is water. And you know, we've been called to apartment complexes where somebody has a pool gate propped open, and everybody's crazy about that, which they should be. But right next to the pool is a lake. You know, and it's like, hey, there's not just, it is true, it is a pool, and they have to be aware of that. But you know, we've had kids that have drowned in toilets. You know, we've had kids that drown in buckets of water. We've had kids that had a fish tank next to a bed and leaned over and toppled over, and they're top heavy, so they can't get back up out of the fish tank. So there's been some very, very tragic things that you think, gosh, I just wish that this somehow could have been thought of or prevented, or someone could have seen this happen, or something to that effect. So, and I think that nobody thinks this is going to ever happen, or that it could happen until it does. You know, and I don't know how many times we've heard people say, like, I can't believe this happened to me. Yeah. You know, and it just, it's tough.
Yeah. That was one of the things that that I was faced after this happened. Was I never would have thought this would have happened to me and my family. It was a very humbling experience, and I thought we were doing all the right things. Our son actually took swimming lessons at the city of Chandler prior to this event, and again, you know, we read about these things, but we always think it happens to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the take-home point here, is that a drowning can happen in any body of water. That's why close, consistent supervision is vital in situations like that. John, how has this affected your life, you and your family?
Well, it obviously changed our lives significantly. My life's really not the same as it was prior to that day. I didn't realize how it would affect my wife's and immediate family so deeply, but also friends and co-workers, and even I didn't realize how it affects the fire personnel also so deeply. I realized that a couple of days after the event when I talked to some fire department people, and you know, it happened 16 years ago, but it's something that you know, I almost think about it on a daily basis, and unfortunately, life has gone on, but differently than it was without my son. I see children that are teenagers now that are his age. He would be that age, and it's hard to imagine that he would have been that age, and what it's been like without him. So.
What, and this message, I mean, this question is really for all of you. What from given this information, what message do you have for families out there that are watching this right now?
Well, my biggest message is that it can happen to anyone, and just a moment of inattention or comfort that it's not going to happen to you is something that you have to be very aware of, that it can happen to you.
Well, I think that's something that is a very good point, because you know, as somebody who responds to these types of calls, it obviously has a dramatic effect on everybody. And as you can see, I mean, it's very rare for us to really get a whole lot of follow-up or get an opportunity to meet the people involved in these incidents, especially you know, many years later, like in this case. But you know, it doesn't lessen the our desire to come up with ways to prevent these things from happening. You know, and I think you can see this has happened for many years, and you know, fortunately, maybe by us getting together today, you know, it'll have the it'll create maybe you know, if we can eliminate one of these events from happening in the future, then that's an invaluable effort to achieve. So we certainly want to see these types of incidents completely eliminated. You know, when we respond in, I mean, the looks that we see on the people that are involved are create a dramatic effect on us. I mean, we can see the pain, we can feel the pain. You know, we prepare to handle these events, but you know, you just never know when they're going to occur. And I think that's something that as far as the fire department personnel, you know, we've because of you know, because of the response deal, we realize that these can happen at any time to anybody, and we simply cannot be active enough to do simply everything that possibly can be done to promote and educate people on you know, how to possibly eliminate some of these events from occurring in the future.
Yeah, it's very well said. Thank you for that.
So yeah, I agree with exactly what he's saying. You know, is that these things have been going on for too long. I mean, one is too many.
Yeah.
But they've been going on for too long, and we all know that, you know, kids will be kids, and you know, I mean, you can watch them and just have a hawk eye on them all the time, and then you turn around for a second, you look back, and they're gone. You know, so that's where, you know, all the barriers come into play. You know, and the first place that, you know, we should maybe look should be around the water. You know, okay, let's go there. If he's not in the pool, good, I'll go find him. But you know, kids have ways of, you know, they think it's fun, and it is fun when it's supervised. So, you know, it's a tragic thing, and like Chief Gale was saying, that hopefully, you know, when we talked about doing this, and just if it can save one child, you know, it's worth every second, you know, of what we're doing.
I
and
agree.
hopefully it'll kind of spark something, and people say, you know what, this actually happened, you know, and I commend you, I really do, for being here, because I know it'd be very difficult, you know, for me if it was one of my children.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. But my goal is to prevent this from happening to another family.
Absolutely.
And it's still hard for me to describe the emotion and feeling I had the day after it happened. I was playing with my son one day, and the next day I'm picking a gravesite for him, and it was very difficult for me even to get out of the car that following day. And it's, again, something I can't even describe, that feeling of that. And again, never thought it would happen to me.
John, thank you very much. I mean, we all thank you very much for sharing your story. I mean, it's powerful, and again, as Engineer Dan said, we hope that if it saves one life, it's worth it. So,
Yeah.
Thank
And,
you.
you know, and I would like to say thank you, because it is a rare opportunity for us to actually meet you know, some of the people that we work for and discuss situations like this, and hopefully you know, and I believe in this case this will create a tool that's going to be that will do exactly like you say, and eliminate some of these tragedies from occurring in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you again to all of you for sharing your experience on that day. This is a critical issue. As a crisis worker, I've witnessed the devastating impact that a drowning can have on a family. The take-home point here is that this is not something that happens to certain people or just, you know, a certain group of people. This is something that impacts all of us. This has the potential to affect each and every one of us. That is why it can't be stressed enough: secure, supervise, and train. Secure with barriers, eye-to-eye supervision when watching children around water, and training, which includes swimming lessons as well as learning CPR. We truly hope that by you all watching today that there has been an increased level of awareness of drowning prevention and the dangers of unsupervised children around water. We thank you for your time, and remember to always watch closely children around any body of water. It could save a life. Thank you for watching.